I think you guys are going to like this one a lot. Let's see what it does. Yeah, dude, holy crap. All right, let's get into it, guys. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. We're going to get right into it. I am making this a Dragon Rider type of build. That's the whole RP I'm going for with this build, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it because it does a lot of damage, and it uses a lot of really awesome incantations, and I love the weapon set that I'm using with this particular build. So sit back, relax, enjoy the build video. Let's jump right into it. Let's start out with the talismans. Per usual, we are going to be a New Game Plus. This is a New Game Plus 6 recording. I will have breakdowns at the end of the video for level 50, 100, and 150. If you are interested in those level breakdowns, stick on to the end, and I will get those to you. So, the first talisman we are using is the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. This is going to enormously boost your physical damage negation, which means you are going to take less damage. Like I said before, in New Game Plus, you are going to take a lot of damage, and this is just a great handicap for you to have because it's going to provide you with 20% damage negation, so you're going to take 20% less damage as opposed to not using this. You don't have to use this one if you don't want to, but if you really do struggle in in-game content such as I do, you might want to snag this one because it is super great and it's going to keep you alive in those clutch situations. Moving on to talisman number 2, we're using the Phlox Canvas Talisman. This is going to greatly raise the potency of our incantations. We are using quite a few incantations here with this build, so we want them to be as powerful as humanly possible, and this talisman is going to allow us to do so. This talisman is going to raise your incantation potency by 8%, so it's not a crazy amount, but it still helps in the long run, and I definitely think this talisman is worth it in our number 2 slot. Moving on to number 3, we are using the Shard of Alexander. This is going to greatly boost the attack power of your skills by 15%. So that is going to make all of our incantations, our Ashes of War, all of our skills hit a lot harder, which we definitely want to use for this build because you are going to be going up against a lot of enemies, and your lightning attacks are going to absolutely crush. So you definitely want to use this one. I love using the Shard of Alexander. I've used it in a ton of my builds before, and it just makes you more powerful overall. Moving on to our number 4, and probably the most interesting talisman that we're going to be using here in this build, that is the Lightning Scorpion Charm. Now, this is going to raise lightning attack, but lowers damage negation. You will take a little bit more damage using the Lightning Scorpion Charm, and that is okay because it's going to raise our lightning attacks by 12%. So that is a really significant amount of damage that you're getting from that charm just to take a little bit more damage in the long run. So I think it's a fair trade. It's definitely going to help us out. And when we stack this with our Flask of Wonders Physic, we are going to be stacking lightning damage like crazy. Speaking of the flask, let's just go right into that really quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about. The Lightning Shrouding Cracked Tear is going to be the first part we're going to use in our flask. This is going to temporarily boost your lightning attacks. It's going to boost your lightning attacks by 20%. And 15% if you're using this in PvP. So that is going to be an excellent damage boost for you, especially with all the lightning spells that we're going to be using with this build. You're really going to enjoy it. You're going to hit really, really hard, and there's not a lot of enemies that are going to stick around after a few of the spells that you're throwing out. And for our second slot in our Flask of Wonders Physic, we're using the Faith Knot Crystal Tear, which is going to temporarily boost your faith. The duration of this is 3 minutes, and it's going to boost your faith by 10. This is going to pair really, really well with our Lightning Shrouding Cracked Tear because not only are our incantations going to be scaling with faith, and they have lightning damage, but you're also going to get that extra faith with the Faith Knot Crystal Tear in your Flask of Wonders Physic. This is a definite crazy concoction, and you're going to do a lot of damage with it. Looking at our armor real quick, all of this armor is purely aesthetic, but I think it looks absolutely sick. There's nothing in particular that this armor is going to make you do better or make you do worse, but you are going to look amazing. The drip is going to be crazy. So we have the Banished Knight Helm. We're then going to be rocking the Bloodhound Knight armor. We also have the Bloodhound Knight gauntlets, and then we're going to be using the Veteran's Greaves. And I think overall, this matches super well. You definitely kind of look like a Dragon Rider with this. I think the RP of this is amazing. It's super fun to run around in, and you just look so sick. Now, moving on to our weapons, we're going to be using the Dragon Scale Blade. So I really wanted to use this weapon when I first found it, and I really hadn't found a build to use it with. But I think with the whole dragon aspect that we have going on with this build, this works perfectly, especially with the lightning that we have as well, because this Dragon Scale Blade's Ash of War Ice Lightning Sword is amazing, and it's going to scale with your lightning damage that you get from your flask, so you're just going to hit harder. With a physical damage of 269 plus 266, this isn't going to hit crazy hard, but it is a katana, so it's going to have that great slash moveset that everyone loves so much, so that's a huge plus for it. Its strength scaling is at D, and it has a dex scaling of B, and since this is a dex faith build we're running, that's going to be just fine for us. We don't need a lot of strength for it, but the fact that it has a B scaling and dex is absolutely perfect for us. Now, the second weapon that we are going to be using with this build, which is kind of off the wall and crazy, but I love it, is Vike's War Spear. Vike's War Spear is such a cool and unique weapon in this game, and it hits for a lot of damage. I like the spear attacks. I think they're really unique. The Frenzied Flame Thrust Ash of War absolutely annihilates. It does a ton of damage, and its physical damage is going to be 237 plus 211, which isn't crazy, but then stacked on top of that is fire damage at 152 plus 102, which really allows this to hit like crazy. Like I said before, the Ash of War Flames Frenzy Thrust is going to leave a huge madness wake on the ground to give people damage over time and also stack madness on them. And speaking of stacking madness, this causes madness buildup at plus 65. So it's a strength scaling of D, a dex scaling of B, and a faith scaling of C. So with the dex and faith build that we're running, this makes perfect sense. I think it's an absolutely great weapon. If you haven't tried it, definitely let me know. Also, guys, if you are enjoying this content currently, let me know in the comments. Leave a like, follow, subscribe on the channel. I would really appreciate that. It goes a long way. And also, down in the comments, leave me the weapons that you would use for this build, because I would love to start a conversation with you guys. Next up, we have our seals. We're going to be using 2 seals, although we are specifically going to be using one and having a passive effect of another one. We're going to have the Gravelstone seal plus 25 in our first slot, and then in our second slot, we're going to have the Dragon Communion seal. There's 2 reasons for this. The first reason is we want to boost the Dragon Cult incantations, which is why we have the Gravelstone seal in our primary hand. We're going to be throwing a ton of lightning out, a ton of Dragon Cult incantations, and its faith scaling is at an S, which is absolutely phenomenal, and that's what we need for this build. Then, if we want to switch a few things up, which we do have a few other incantations in here, we are going to be using the Dragon Communion seal in our offhand that boosts Dragon Communion incantations. This is going to scale with Arcane at S and Faith at B, so this is really great for our build. Does a lot of damage, really scales well with what we needed to do, and with a few Dragon Communion incantations that we're using, this is really going to help us out. And finally, last but not least, you know I would never leave you guys high and dry with the summon choices, so we have a few summons here for you to choose this time around. The first and foremost is my all-time favorite, the Mimic Tear. I'm not even going to try to hide it. The Mimic Tear is amazing. The Mimic Tear is you, so with this build, your Mimic Tear is also throwing around lightning like Zeus, and it is absolutely crazy. Both of you together just bully bosses, you bully NPCs. It is such a fun time. I love the fact that I can be charging up a massive lightning attack, and then he can also charge up a massive lightning attack and just crush the entire battlefield. It's super fun. Definitely recommend this one for you. The next one up on our list is going to be Banished Knight Ingval. Banished Knight Ingval is just a tank. He's super great. He's solid. He's definitely a great summon to use. He's got a fantastic moveset. He does a ton of damage, and he doesn't go down easily at all, which is super great. Some of you guys were mentioning him in some of my shorts not too long ago that I didn't mention Banished Knight Ingval in my best summons video, but he is very, very good. He was a great runner-up. He just didn't get in there in that time. He lost to Oleg. So, Banished Knight Ingval, definitely a good choice for you. I would highly recommend him if you just need someone to get in there, hack and slash, and crush some enemies in front of you. And then finally, the last one is going to be Ancient Dragon Knight Kristoff. On one hand, it kind of goes with the RP of being a Dragon Rider. You have a Dragon Knight with you, but he also has some really, really great lightning spells, and these are going to help you in the long run, especially in those prolonged attacks, because he can spam them, and you can be throwing off lightning as well. He sticks around. He's got a massive shield. He's a big tank. He's not going to go down easy. I love this one. He was actually in my video that I just did for best summons in Elden Ring. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I go in depth about what he does and how he does it. So I would definitely recommend this guy for you in our slot number 3. Now, before I let you guys go, I do want to get into our incantations really, really quickly, just because we have a bunch of them we're going to be using for this build. So I want to make sure you guys know exactly which ones you need to be picking up. The first one is going to be Flame Grant Me Strength. I've been over this in some of my other videos. This is going to raise physical and fire affinity attack power. Absolutely phenomenal spell. It's just a normal buff, but it does so much for you. Highly recommend this one. Also, Golden Vow. It's just an increase to stats overall, increase to attack, and increase to defense for yourself and your allies. anytime you can just get a normal buff like this, you definitely want to use it because it's just going to jack your skills up and you're going to do more damage in the long run. So our first mega huge attack that when you charge this up, you're just going to wreck the entire battlefield is Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike. This Lightning Strike is going to cause multiple lightning strikes to come down out of the air and just crush everybody in front of you. This is the spell that you saw at the very beginning of the video, and I absolutely love it. It takes a long time to charge up, but if you can have your summon distract the boss and charge this up, you are going to do a lot of damage. Our next damage spell is going to be Frozen Lightning Spear. This is actually a really cool one. I like this one a lot. You pick up a Frozen Spear and you chuck it into the ground, and lightning shoots out in front of you, and then lightning strikes hit the ground. It's a multifaceted attack. Definitely does a good amount of damage, especially when you have your flask up and all your buffs up. This is really going to clear the battlefield well for you. Moving on to our number 3, we are using Dragon Claw. This causes you to pull a Dragon Claw out and smash the ground. It's great for staggering people. It does a lot of damage when you're hitting multiple enemies or if you're hitting a boss one-on-one. I do like this one a lot, and with the Dragon Rider RP of this entire build, we definitely are going to have some Dragon Claw in this build. Our number 4 damage spell is going to be Lightning Spear. This is just a very quick cast. You just pick it up, chuck it, and it does its job. It's not going to do a crazy amount of damage, but it'll allow you to get multiple Lightning Spears out at a time. So if your summon is up killing the boss, you can just sit back and throw Lightning Spears if you want to, because they're going to hit a decent amount of damage, especially when they're stacked with our flask that boost that lightning damage for us. The next damage spell we have is Fortisak's Lightning Spear. You grab 2 lightning bolts, chuck them at the ground. You look like a complete god. It is amazing. You do a really good amount of damage if you're close to your enemies, but this does have a little bit of a weakness where it doesn't have the range on it. So I would watch out for that, but I definitely do love this spell. It helps out in a lot of situations of the game. And the last spell we're going to be using is Grail's Roar. This is a fantastic stagger spell, which is just going to knock everyone over around you. It's going to stagger bosses. It is really, really nice, and it does some damage with it as well. So on top of the stagger, you're getting a decent amount of damage. There is a little bit of a handicap with how long it takes to wind up, but once you get this spell going, it's really going to help you out in a lot of situations within Elden Ring. So guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would change down in the comments. I would love to start a conversation with you guys. You guys have been so supportive of my channel so far, and it has been absolutely phenomenal to just watch things grow. Here's the deal, guys. I appreciate the heck out of all of you. Thank you guys so much for being here and for watching the video. If you'd be so kind as to like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can know when I'm making more content, I would appreciate that. And until next time, guys, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.